Good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this annual tribute celebration of the Synagogue Council of Massachusetts. We hope that you enjoyed our dinner buffet and had a chance to connect with family and friends. My name is Len Fishman, and together with Bill Gabovich and Mike Weintraub, we are charged with the exciting task of opening this evening's program, during which Len Davidson and Rabbi Sarah Pasha-Orlo will be receiving Community Service Awards, and Benjamin Siegel will receive the Klal Yisrael Award from the Synagogue Council.
Thank you, Len. On behalf of all the co-chairs, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. The fact that we have such a beautiful and incredible crowd tonight is really a tribute to the honorees themselves and the stature they have in our community, and the community's support for the outstanding work of the Synagogue Council. This evening's program was created through the work of many, many people. Our thanks go to the 2014 meeting co-chairs, the outstanding Synagogue Council staff of professionals, and this evening's volunteers. I particularly want to know Larry Sandberg, our sound and video coordinator. We also want to thank the staff here at Temple Aliyah, whose efforts have made it possible for us to have this evening go smoothly. Mike?
There are many synagogue presidents, rabbis, cantors, and administrators, Jewish educators, agency presidents, and executives, dignitaries, representatives of combined Jewish philanthropies, and friends with us tonight. Please join me in a round of applause to show our appreciation for all those who have honored us with their presence and support of this evening. Len, we have known each other for over 15 years, having worked together on numerous committees and having each served as president and now past presidents of Temple Ohave Shalom. The entire Jewish community is blessed with your hard work, commitment, passion, and generosity. You are truly an inspiration and role model to all of us, and to me, a mentor and friend.
Ben, your leadership in this community is almost unparalleled. The organizations you've touched and the people and lives you've improved here in the whole country and actually around the world have felt your impact for years and will continue to feel it for many years. I know I have always learned from your leadership when I'm with you, even though you're years younger. Some would say many years. Let's just leave it at years. But thank you for all your time.
To cite one example of her special genius and compassion, Rabbi Sarah came to Hebrew Senior Life, saw the great unmet need of Jewish elders, and responded by creating, with help from the Reverend Mary Martha Teal, the nation's only Jewish geriatric chaplaincy program to train skilled chaplains who, while students spread across the 8 communities of Hebrew Senior Life, ministering to the pastoral needs of thousands of seniors who otherwise would not have this need fulfilled. Chan Schwartz said when I came in this evening that this place is loaded with chaplains, so if you're planning a meltdown anytime soon, this is probably a good place to do it. It is now, I want to first ask everybody out of courtesy, please turn off cell phones if you happen to have them, and if you haven't done so already. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce Rabbi Carl Perkins of our host congregation to bring greetings. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Len. And on behalf of Temple Aliyah, its officers and members of its Board of Trustees, Cantor G. and Bruce Burns, our congregational president, welcome to Temple Aliyah. There's a wonderful image that's presented at the beginning of the book of Numbers, the book that we're now reading in Shul on Shabbat mornings. It's the image of the 12 tribes of Israel camped in a very well-organized matrix surrounding the tabernacle. And we're told that when God signals that it's time to move by lifting the cloud of God's presence, flags are raised and shofarot are sounded, and the camp moves in unison until the signal is given for the camp to halt, at which point, in a well-organized, unified manner, that is what the camp does. That is a beautiful image. On the other hand, the book of Numbers also gives us the reality of discord. And the story told in this week's Parsha is emblematic. We have 12 scouts that are sent out to check out the land of Canaan and its inhabitants. And they're told to find out if the people living in the land, the non-Israelites, are strong or weak, many or few. By the time they come back, hopelessly deadlocked, the people are fighting not against the enemies of the nation, but against their own leaders, Moses and Aaron. And had God not intervened, the story tells us the people would have stoned them. The discord continues in the next few parashiyot with the story of the rebellion of Korach and of the Tanan Abiran, etc., etc. It seems as though throughout Jewish history we have lived in the space between those two extremes, the dream of unity and the reality of discord. The dangers of discord, incivility, disrespect, what's called in Hebrew sinat chinam, groundless hatred, they're always lurking. Just read the pages of our local Jewish newspapers, the national Jewish newspapers, and you can see it staring you in the face. What are we to do? How can we sustain the placid dream described so well at the beginning of the book of Numbers? It seems to me that what we have to do is to overcome the centrifugal forces that threaten to destroy us as a people. Those forces are self-righteousness, triumphalism, disrespect, and extremism. Now, this is not a popular perspective in our country. It's contrary to the zeitgeist. In politics, in our public discourse, commentators and political leaders pull us to the edges, and many see that as a virtue. The notion of pshara, which is the Hebrew term for compromise, is seen as a defeat by many in our society, rather than, as in the Jewish tradition, the embodiment of doing what is tov v'yashar, good and upright and proper in the eyes of the Lord, and beyond the letter of the law. It's in fact not a popular course to pursue the derech habenonit, the way in the middle. Yet that is the goal that our liturgy points us to, a goal that appropriately enough was chosen as the Synagogue Council's tagline, namely, V'yeyasu chulam aguda achat. May we become one unified group to serve God's will wholeheartedly. If we want Jewish unity to be more than a dream, if we want that description of the 12 tribes peacefully, amicably, camped alongside one another, if we want that to be Jewish reality, we have to support communal organizations that seek to help us to work together in the face of those centrifugal forces that would pull us apart. We have to support groups such as Synagogue Council, and we must never take the council for granted. Others like it used to exist, but they no longer do. Under Alan Tepperow's wise, thoughtful, and principled leadership, the council has sought to build bridges rather than to destroy them. And without ignoring or dismissing the principled differences that do divide us, it has sought to bring us together and to help us reach beyond our own particular interests. And the council therefore deserves our support and admiration. And it's for this reason that we at Temple Aliyah are so grateful for the opportunity to host this gathering this evening. At this time, I was to have called on Rabbi Mark Baker. As many of us know, sadly, he suffered the loss of his father during the past week, and he is sitting Shiva this evening. We extend condolences to him. So in his place, I would like now to introduce Gabrielle Osman Siegel to present the Klal Yisrael Award on behalf of Synagogue Council to her husband, Benjamin.
Good evening. I feel very excited and honored to be up here to talk about and introduce Ben. Just to give you a sense of our history together, Ben and I met 18 years ago at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. It did take us a while to connect beyond being in the same Hebrew class, but we did. And I distinctly still recall the things that really drew me to Ben. He was unlike any person that I had ever met before. He had this amazing zest for life and this real energy about him. He really wanted to seize all around him. And he was just energized by all the experiences around him. And I couldn't help but feel really swept up in that kind of energy as well, and just wanted to be around him. And I still love those qualities that he has. And it's really because of that he absorbed and embraced everything that year abroad had to offer. And I'm telling you in all honesty that Ben would pack into a day what most people would pack into 2 or 3. And if he had to get 3 hours of sleep in order to do it, so be it. He would make that trade-off in a heartbeat. And as many of you know, he still often does make that trade-off in a heartbeat. I also very quickly recognized that Ben had a depth that really stood out to me. Even though we were still in college, he was very certain and clear in his desire to want to contribute positively during his lifetime. He really wanted to do good and be a good person. And I can tell you firsthand, even after our almost 13 years of marriage and 3 kids, that Ben's dedication to that concept and his ability to pack in a crazy amount of things in one day has never wavered. When we moved up to this area from Washington, D.C. in 2003, Ben knew he wanted to get actively involved in the Jewish community right away. Since that time, over a decade now, he has wholeheartedly invested himself in so many different aspects of Jewish life here. The American Jewish Committee, Jewish Community Relations Council, Combined Jewish Philanthropies, AIPAC, Camp Ramah, Beit Tzedek, Gann Academy, American Friends of the University of Haifa. That list does not even capture it all, or give you a real true sense of the contributions he's made. Things like chairing the Young Leadership Division of the Combined Jewish Philanthropies, to creating and chairing Access in Boston, the Young Jewish Leadership component of the American Jewish Committee, to chairing Access globally, to helping to create the Young Jewish Leaders Council, which brings representatives from young Jewish leader organizations together, to helping to connect young Jewish leaders in Boston with those in Haifa. That's just a taste of Ben's involvement. And it has all been with the sole intention of building on what is a strong community here and making it an even stronger one. And his commitment to engage young Jewish leaders is just inspiring. I think Ben is a truly generous person. And I think his generosity is really showcased by all the time and effort he commits to turning his resolve into action. As the phrase goes, I think Ben really does walk the walk and then some. It is without a doubt that his endless passion, charisma, and dedication have made our community a better place. It is now my pleasure to ask Ben to come up here. On behalf of the Synagogue Council of Massachusetts, I'd like to present Ben with this beautiful piece of artwork.
Well, now you all know what I know. which is I married so far up. It's really ridiculous. I had a couple goals in life right from the beginning. One was to marry someone smarter, more beautiful, someone who was going to love, who's going to be my partner, a feminist, someone who's going to be very independent. Now you've seen who I married, and I do think I'm really so lucky. So I love you. We also, I think a lot of times those of us who get honored, really we feel silly about being honored because we shouldn't be up here. It really should be our spouses that are up there. Gab works full-time. She volunteers herself in different organizations, help create access here in Boston. Our children are already amazing. You can see at least one of them, the other two here. Thanks for waving. But our children are going to really do amazing things in their lives. And that's not because of me, that's because of Gab. And so I feel blessed to have that, and I really think feeling a little silly that we should be honoring people like Gab and not myself who actually go to the meetings, the ones who are actually doing the real work of creating community and Jewish identity at home. So, Gab mentioned she and I met 18 years ago. What she didn't tell you was it took a little bit of time for her to warm up to me. But a little bit after we met at Hebrew U, our love started actually while we traveled through Poland. And I knew I was going to marry her, and I told her about 2 months later, this is within the same year, when I met, as the final straw, her grandmother, who we will be visiting next week and turning 100, who lives in Jerusalem. And I remember telling Gab, if you're 10% of your grandma, I am going to be so lucky. Well, Gab, you're way more than 10%, and I feel lucky with that. I really want to thank the Synagogue Council for honoring me tonight, and Ellen, Jan, and Alan especially for putting this together. I'm really honored to receive the Klal Yisrael Award with my fellow honorees tonight getting the Community Service Award, Lenny Davidson and Rabbi Sarah. These are two passionate, dedicated, and selfless lay leaders and spiritual leaders and professional leaders in our community that make our community stronger. I also want to thank my 3 co-chairs, Bill, who you heard at the beginning, Josh here, and my wife. Clearly, I'm pretty lucky. Someone asked me, why did you pick those 3? Well, they're the only ones that said yes, no, just kidding. Very easy. Gabrielle's my best friend and my lover. Why would I pick someone else? Bill has been a mentor to me. He is to me the quintessential, perfect example of a lay leader. Dedicated, humble, selfless, and just does all the things that we all want to do. And so I've looked up to Bill for a long time, continue to do, and been honored. And Josh, who I look upon as a contemporary, I truly think this, and he knows, I've said this to him, embarrassing him, I think he's the most underappreciated lay leader we have in the Boston community. He's never in the front, he's always doing all the things that keep things together in the back. And Josh, stand up for a second, because everyone should know that you're not going to be underappreciated anymore. This is Josh Fielikoff. I'm also just very honored to receive an award from an organization that is about community, is about pluralism, and is about collaboration. I think 3 pillars that I would like myself to follow, and it's very important to me. The Synagogue Council tonight is honoring a boy who is the son of a Puerto Rican woman who was a convert whose name from birth was Ruth Miriam. Synagogue Council is honoring tonight a boy from the son of one of the whitest boys you'll ever meet from Worcester, Massachusetts. You're honoring a boy who grew up in the Jewish haven of Eastern Massachusetts in Braintree, Massachusetts. A boy who went to Camp Ramah on a scholarship, didn't know anyone, and thought, what an awesome place. This is a place that shows you how cool it is to be Jewish. There were girls, there was sports, and there was a love for Judaism. There's very few rare places there. Synagogue Council is also honoring someone who spent multiple years at Prosdor when it was in Brookline on Hawes Street. And the only way I actually graduated was because I did a cabaret. But what most people don't know is I did the cabaret because it was 7 women and myself. And I got credit for that. I didn't have a singing voice. I clearly couldn't speak Hebrew very well, so it was all I could do. I feel very, very lucky to be here. One of the things that really pushed me, and I think is something that is really underneath me, is I feel we all have a duty, a role, to strengthen our community. Not for ourselves, but as the collective whole. Because if we don't do it, who really will? And you can ask Gab this. If any night I go to sleep where I don't feel I did something small for the community, it's a hard night for me to sleep. I also just truly want to thank all the amazing organizations I've been involved in and continue to be involved in for allowing me to volunteer. I think for all of you in this room, I'm speaking to the chorus about this, but volunteering, doing Tikkun Olam, it's one of the most selfish activities someone can do. We do it because it makes us feel good. And so as much as I might be giving to the different organizations, it makes me feel even better. And it's something I truly, truly love. Whether it's the amazing and visionary CJP, whether it's the JCRC or AJC or GAN Academy, or Beit Tzedek or Camp Ramah, University of Haifa, these are all organizations who care about supporting and strengthening Israel and the Jewish community. They've made the Boston community visionary and forward-thinking, and they've been on the cusp of collaboration. I also just want to thank the hundreds of different volunteers and lay leaders and professional staff that I've worked with over the last few years. They're the real engines in our community, and without them, I don't think our community would be where it is. I want to leave you all with something and use this opportunity as, in a way, a bully pulpit. I always and continually get asked, how should we engage the next generation of leaders? So I'm going to leave you with 5 steps on how to engage the next generation of leaders, and one final step, what not to do. Number 1, this is not the next generation of leaders. Just because they're young doesn't mean they're next. They're leaders now, today, and in the future. And we need to start treating them like that. We need to start treating them as if they have a seat at the table now, because their experiences and their voices are as important as someone who's been doing it for 70 or 80 years. Number 2, integration and independence. All of us who belong to organizations and synagogues, we need to integrate young leaders into our committees, into our boards, with full voting rights right from the beginning. Let's be part of it and let's do it together. Intergenerational learning and lay leadership is truly remarkable. But we also have to allow lay leaders to be independent and to allow them to have their own programs independently and to cohort together. Number 3, we need to make programming in our organizations cool and relevant to young Jews. Sometimes we think what's best for our organizations, but is it relevant to trying to get young leaders there? Is it something that's cool? Number 4, we need to first connect people to their Jewish identity, whatever that might mean. We need to find what they're passionate about and connect them to that. Because someone who's connected to their Jewish identity is going to be more pro-Israel, is going to be more connected to wanting to be a part of the Jewish community, and is going to help us all grow this community. And the 5th, and probably the most important, is we need to engage young adults at a community level, and not organization by organization. And what I mean by that is many times the short-term yield on engaging young adults is not positive for an organization. They need subsidies. They need help getting to an event, and that organization can lose money. But if all our organizations together said, we want to connect this young group of young adults to this community, we want to show them the Jewish menu out there, not because it might better our own organization, but because it's going to better the community as a whole, we're going to go a long way. And the one thing not to do, we need to stop the infighting in our community. We need to start working together. I am one person who's very tired of maybe one of 100 people who read the Jewish Advocate every week, to start watching us and reading about us tearing each other apart. We need to stop that. We can all be better people. We can all be better Jews. We can all be more pro-Israel. Our organizations can all do more than they're doing. But we have a lot more problems out there than ourselves, and we need to start facing that as a community. And if you want young adults to get involved and be inspired by all of you, we need to say to each other that we're only going to work together and stop the infighting. And I'll leave you with this last piece. And it reminded me the other week, I had the privilege of watching a friend get his U.S. citizenship this past week, and he's in the audience tonight. I won't embarrass him. But he did it in Faneuil Hall. And in Faneuil Hall, the big picture behind Faneuil Hall is an amazing portrait. And the portrait is of Senator Daniel Webster debating with Senator Haynes on preserving the Union when the Civil War is coming. Well, we always hear about a picture being 100 words, and a picture is history. So if someone were to take a picture of all of us today, what would that picture in this room say? And what do all of you want it to say? I wanted to say that we strengthen our community, that we work together. I wanted to say that we strengthen Israel, supported social justice, supported Jewish education, and made not only the Jewish community and the broader community better. So when all of our friends and relatives in a few years look at the picture of today's event, they're going to say, I know that person, and that person made this community better. And I believe that's what the Synagogue Council does. It is making our community better every single day through collaboration, pluralism, diversity, and through strength. I'm honored to have received the Klal Yisrael Award. I am more than honored to have my wife introduce me, and I want to thank all of you so much for coming.
Now I just heard all your words, I know more why I chose this song. We are gifts, we are blessings, we are history in song. We are hope, we are healing, we are learning to be strong. We are words, we are stories, we are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. לדור ודור נגיד עוד לך, לדור ודור we protect this chain from generation to generation. לדור ודור these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed, we are holy, we are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning have the strength to say, join me here. Leor nagid God lecha, Leor we protect this chain from generation to generation. Leor this lips will praise your name. Let's sing it one more time. Leor nagid God lecha, Leor we protect this chain from generation to generation. Leor these lips will praise your name. Mazel tov.
Wow, we actually filled almost every seat. As we looked around before we actually arrived here, we said, I think we're going to have 275 to 300 people, and there are about 275 seats, so we're really concerned. It's a great testament to the people who we're honoring, and I think a great testament to the organization. In this week's Torah portion, oh, by the way, I'm Alan Tepero. We're all going to talk about the same thing, I'm sure, when it comes to the parsha. Are you talking about it? Rabbi Sandberg, are you talking about it? Oh, my gosh. So let's see if we all have a different take on the scouts and what they derive and when they come back, what they think about it. So, in this week's Torah portion, Shalach Lecha, the scouts returned to report on the land, announcing, with the exception of Caleb and Joshua, that it would be impossible for the Israelites to prevail over men of great size, to whom we must look like grasshoppers. It says it. This lack of confidence in their own ability to defeat their enemies, and yet another breach of faith in God's power, leads to 40 years of wandering until the last of your generation dies in the wilderness. In modern terminology, I would describe this as a significant lack of communal values and a serious loss of vision. Accordingly, the overall theme for my remarks this evening is values and vision. Our wonderful honorees, board members, and SCM staff all put Jewish values first and have the vision and know-how to implement those values. I want to especially thank Arnie Zaff, you'll meet him in a few minutes, the Synagogue Council's incredible president, for an unbelievably busy and productive year, a very thorough process of self-reflection, rental space ups and downs, legal concerns, and exciting plans for the future. Arnie has been a steady presence, providing thoughtful and, let me try to read it. Arnie has been a steady presence, providing thoughtful and inspirational leadership. More than that, he has always put his Jewish and family values first, and consistently checks in about my life and my family. Arnie is a true mensch, an amazing president, and a great friend. In addition to being people of vision who know how to get things done, our honorees, Ben, Sarah, and Len, have a deep love of their family, deep love for the people they serve, and their religious communities. Mazel tov to you all, and thank you for everything you do in service to our Jewish community. I would also like to acknowledge my partners in this great enterprise, the Synagogue Council's wonderful board of directors. Could I ask our board members please to rise in their place? Come on, you can do it. And our hard-working staff, please rise one at a time. Jan Schwartz, our development director. Ellen Michelson, program associate, and our magnificent annual 50th Paul Kelly, our administrator, who's probably out there, he always is. And Terry Goldseer, our bookkeeper. So lest you think I've forgotten one of our SCM senior staff, I want to announce with gratitude and appreciation that our assistant director, Marilyn Lippman, who is not feeling well tonight, sorry, is celebrating a special milestone this year, 15 years with the Synagogue Council of Massachusetts. Marilyn started out as part-time administrative staff and quickly exhibiting a passion for and full understanding of SCM's pluralistic mission, was promoted to program associate and then assistant director. She runs all women's programming for the Synagogue Council, directs our weekend Shabbaton, attends and helps run our unity missions to New York, is responsible for the synagogue directory, and so much more. But what you really need to know about Marilyn is that she has a keen memory and a few minor idiosyncrasies used in no particular order of importance. I can hear the friends who know her well already laughing. To remember everything about the Red Sox and her beloved Pedro, the Beatles and her heartthrob Paul, no, who she actually knows personally, and pretty much any and all useless trivia related to movies, TV shows, sports, and literature. Don't sit next to Marilyn on an airplane. I know this from personal experience because she has an intense fear of flying and will dig her fingernails into your arm. Hypothetically, of course. Don't even think about offering her tuna fish, unless she prepares it personally. And competing with her in a trivia contest is futile, so don't even consider it. Seriously though, the reason Marilyn has flown, actually twice in the past several years, and despite her better judgment, has been to help lead the Synagogue Council's special anniversary unity missions to Israel. In short order, she became extremely close with dozens of women in CJP's sister community of Haifa, and with great skill and sensitivity has developed a sophisticated women's dialogue group between the two cities. I can't think of a more intensive program that builds trust and improves Israel-diaspora relations than the Synagogue Council's SIAF program under Marilyn's exceptional leadership. Marilyn, are you feeling well enough to come up here?
After all that, I'm coming.
I'm not going to get too close. You want a picture of that? Some people think that I am the face of the Synagogue Council. I actually hear that every once in a while. But what those who know her well will clearly understand is that Marilyn Lippman is its heart. There is no project that brings people together in a pluralistic environment that Marilyn hasn't helped conceptualize, and many she runs from start to finish. More importantly, Marilyn has become the voice of the voiceless. Marilyn is our staff's conscience, making sure that every segment of our Jewish community is heard, our staff's moral compass, ensuring that each program and public statement fully represents every view and listens to the voice of those unable to speak for themselves. As I mentioned earlier, my thoughts this evening are focused on values and vision, two areas where Marilyn absolutely excels. Watching Marilyn with her wonderful husband and best friend Steve, how she kvelds about their son Wyatt's accomplishments, or makes time to be with their grandchildren, to support elderly parents through difficult times, or enjoy the davening, and learning at TBZ while maintaining such close friendships with her Hingham buddies, you can see that family and community is at her core. If anyone has an understanding about where the Synagogue Council has been, or a vision for where it should be in the next decade or beyond, it is Marilyn. So Marilyn, for your 15 years of devoted leadership at the Synagogue Council, the passion you display for its mission, the incredible relations you have forged, and our own deep and embodied friendship, I am pleased to present this gift as a small token of our love for you. It is a necklace from the collection of Israeli artist Aliyah Bar. Bar's creative style of design, Art Deco meets Middle East, is inspired by the universal sights that she experiences. Every piece she creates is true to her inner vision while being current in the fashion trends of the day. So Mazel Tov, Marilyn, and thank you for our remarkable 15 years with the Synagogue Council.
Thank you, Alan. That was just made it worthwhile to be here, just to hear that, and you know I'm touched, and I feel blessed every day to be part of this incredible endeavor, which I passionately believe in. My passion for Jewish pluralistic unity, in a sense, but respect for diversity across all streams of Judaism is deep and abiding, and I want to just pay tribute to my mentor and dear friend and partner in pluralism, Alan Tepero, because I've grown just an enormous amount over these past 15 years, and I want to say two things. One is that next to Alan, I've had the longest tenure at the Synagogue Council ever, so I'm very proud of that. And secondly is, I kind of had a feeling something was happening because I was sick in bed all day, and Alan said, take a cab, just get here for the program. I said, this is something different. So I'm glad I did, and I also know that since I'm not in the program, I'm supposed to have 0 minutes. That's the biggest lesson I've learned in my 15 years. I won't stay any longer, but I just want to thank all of you, the many of you whom I've worked with, who've served on committees with me, who are in the dialogue group, SIAC, and Halot, the Women's Study Group. I know there's people from both programs here tonight, and people that have attended the Shabbaton, and everybody that's helped make the Synagogue Council of Massachusetts what it is and what it's going to continue to be. So, again, thank you very much. And my colleagues, I just have to say, Paul, Ellen, Jan, Terry, it's just a blessing and a treat to see your faces when I come into the office, and we work as a team. Couldn't do it without all of us together. Thank you.
And congratulations, Needham. We're also very, very proud of you.
Finally, when I think of my own personal values and a future vision I have for myself and the Synagogue Council, I am reminded of something written by John Lubbock in 1894 in a book called Recreation, the Use of Life. In it he says, rest is not idleness, and to lie sometimes on the grass under the trees on a summer's day, listening to the murmur of water, or watching the clouds float across the blue sky is by no means a waste of time. Well, that message resonates with me as I think about how I want to spend the next phase of my life. Devoted to my beautiful wife, Suzanne, our growing family, and time spent away from email, meetings, and oft-times frenetic schedule. If you haven't figured it out already, this is how I have chosen to announce my retirement. For me and the Synagogue Council, this will be the end of an era and the beginning of a new one, filled with hope and renewal as this organization transitions to a new generation of community leaders. I will retire in September of 2015 with the absolute belief that the Synagogue Council is in the best of hands and will thrive in the months and years ahead. I will retire after 34 years of service to a cause I feel passionate about. My entire Jewish life has been formulated by and nurtured within synagogues. My devotion to bridge building has not faltered, and I feel fabulous leaving SCM with a solid foundation of community, moderation, inclusion, and an exciting future. I feel fortunate to have had a rewarding career with wonderful people in my life. For all of these blessings, I am forever grateful. Thank you. You know, when you're on Facebook and someone announces something that's like really bad, you don't know whether you should like it or not. So I wasn't sure if everybody was clapping because you're so happy that I'm telling. Anyway, it is now my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Danny Nevins, Dean of the Rabbinical School at New York's Jewish Theological Seminary. He came away from New York to be with us to make a presentation to Rabbi Sarah Pasha Orlo.
Alan, first of all, congratulations to you. When Alan called me a few months ago and asked me to be here with you, I thought this would be wonderful. Alan's been bringing Unity missions to New York for years, and I didn't even know who he was initially, and all of a sudden there are people coming from Massachusetts invading New York. You know, we get nervous at Yankee Stadium about these things. But I've been really enjoying getting to know the community and you, Alan, and so congratulations to you on an incredible tenure. The affection that's felt for you is not only in this community, but it's really national, and I'm really grateful that I can be here for this special moment. So thank you. Okay. I think in Facebook parlance, that would be like 2 thumbs up. I'm also thrilled to be here at this synagogue, Temple Aliyah, that I've heard about for many years, because it's a synagogue where my dear friend, Rabbi Carl Perkins is rabbi. We've been friends since 1989, since I began rabbinical school. He's a little ahead of me, just a little. And, but you can tell that we're good friends because we're drawn to similar texts of the Torah, which means that I will be going off script. And I will try to spare you some part of Shlach Lecha that's left for you. Shlach Lecha, I'll send it to you, okay? But obviously the real thing that gave me incredible joy to come up here is to honor my dear friend, Rabbi Sarah Pasha Orlo. Sarah and I have been friends, yes. Sarah and I have been friends since we began JTS, also not quite the same year. I think we're 3 years in a row, I'm in the middle. And so that's also almost 25 years ago. Also, all 3 of us were in the Wexner Graduate Fellowship together, and we've spent incredible times together in professional development. But with Sarah, it's also really personal friendship for our families. Sarah, as some of you may know, is not just a great friend to many people, but she's a convener of networks of friendships. And I know that's true here in Boston, but it's also true in her largest circle of friends that she convenes, and several of us come together several times a year into a farm. And on behalf of all the farm chevra who are represented in the tribute booklet, but I also want to lift up a glass to you and to celebrate this beautiful evening. Those of you who know Sarah, and I think it's most of you too, will recognize the qualities, the midot that I speak of. She's a woman of great wisdom. You speak to Sarah and you're learning right away. She has insight, which is not just intellectual, but it's also very much emotional and spiritual. She's hard-working. Anybody who's worked with Sarah, I know a lot of people from Hebrew Senior Life are here, they know that she's a hard-working person. You haven't seen her on the farm, where she can luck out a barn pretty quickly. But it's not just that Sarah's hardworking herself, she inspires others to work hard as well. And I'm looking at her boys here, and I know that they do great work, great tasks, inspired by their mom. But the other thing I wanted to say about her is that she is a builder of community. And it's that last quality which I do want to connect to the parasha a little bit, although perhaps looking slightly differently. What do you think when Moses is speaking to the spies and giving them their mission? Go check out that land. Tell me, is it big cities, small cities? Are they fortified? Are they not? Are the people strong? Are they weak? What do you think he wants them to hear? What would be a good report? If you're going to invade the land, how do you want to find the land? Weak, right? Don't you think he expects that the people are going to come back and say, oh, don't worry, boss. Right? The people there are weak. They're disorganized. Right? It's a poor country, and they don't have any fortresses. But it's actually quite interesting. If you look at the story, he says it in a very neutral tone of voice. Right? And in some of the commentaries in one of the early collections of Midrash, the Tanhuma, later, middle collection, okay. Rabbi Perkins is a scholar of Midrash, so not the earliest collection, the medieval collection. So in the Midrash Tanhuma, it says that actually Moses was hoping that they would come back with a report of strength. He was hoping that they would go out and say, it's a really incredible country. It's filled with strength. And that the people of Israel would feel good going into a country where people were strong, as opposed to coming in with an occupying force mentality. They would go in with the mentality, they're strong, great, we're strong, we're going to become good neighbors. That's not what happened. They saw the people's strength, and as we heard from Rabbi Perkins, they thought, actually it's from Alan Tepper, I'm third on the parsha. So they felt, well, if they're strong, we must be weak in comparison. But that wasn't a necessary way of going about it. They could have been saying, how incredible to go into this place of strength. In fact, which would be a better report? That the people were in open cities, the tents, or that they were in fortresses? You'd think that they want to hear that they're not in fortresses, because fortresses are strong. The Midrash says, however, that if they live in fortresses, you know that they're weak. Im b'machanayim hem shrim im giburim, ubotchim al kochan, ve'im b'mivsarim chalashim hem v'liban rach. If they have to cower in fortified cities, you know that their hearts are weak. We'd rather go into a place of strength. One of the earliest Hasidic writers, known as the Tolda Yaakov Yosef, it's actually the first Hasidic book that we've got, student of the Baal Shem Tov, he says that a person needs to constantly take their own measure. Ki adam hashalem tzarich livchon et atzmo b'tiv'o. A person who's whole needs to know their own inner qualities. Im davek b'Hashem tamid, ben b'bayit ben b'chutz, ben mazik lo chavrat b'nei adam. If that person has integrity and they are connected to God, they have nothing to fear. As ein tzarich b'bedidut, they don't have to seclude themselves. Rak yilech b'kerev b'nei adam. Let them go out amidst the people. Ulai yireh devar ma shetzarich tikun. Maybe in that journey, they will see something that needs improvement. This is how I think about my friend, Rabbi Sarah Pasha Arla. She is a woman of strength, a woman of integrity. She is not insecure. She doesn't go out and look that others are weak and now I can be strong. Quite the opposite. She looks for strength, and she helps to bring people up, to fulfill their own strengths. It's true with friends, it's true with professionals, and it's also true, I'm quite confident, with her clients. Last year I was in Boston, and Sarah said, I want to show you this new facility in Dedham. I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's see this place. I was like, yeah, okay. My jaw dropped, and I had this strange desire to age by 3 decades immediately. But it's not just that it's a beautiful facility, which it is. I mean, you guys are incredibly blessed. But it's also the way that she interacted with people as we walked around, with that kindness, with that honest compassion, concern. When Sarah sees older people, she sees treasures. Not people who deserve pity, but people who have earned respect. Our teachers, our parents, our mentors, the gems of the community, the jewels in the crown. And this is what we've got with a leader like Rabbi Sarah Pasha Orlo. She sees Ziknei Ha'am, the elders of the people, and she says, what can I do to bind a community together, to show the respect and to give the strength that our crown jewels deserve? Sarah is a builder of holy community. I'm honored tonight to present her with this award on your behalf and in the presence of her wonderful family, her dear friends, and her wonderful colleagues. Mazel Tov, Sarah, come on up. Thank you for being our teacher, our leader, and our friend.
Danny, thank you to hold it together here. for kind words, and for the years of friendship and sharing the path of being rabbis. A path that turns and twists and challenges one to be constantly learning, serving people and God, and always growing. This month marks 18 years of my rabbinate, so it's particularly meaningful to be here before you at this time. Together with my two honorees here, with whom I just feel very grateful to be in your ranks. Heschel writes in his book, Abraham Joshua Heschel, in his book, Quest for God, only one response can maintain us: gratefulness for witnessing the wonder, for the gift of our unearned right to serve, to adore, and to fulfill. Witnessing the wonder, the gift of our unearned right to serve, to adore, and to fulfill. I am indeed filled with wonder tonight, looking out at the faces of so many people who I love. I will take the other three in the wrong order and begin with to adore and turn to my family. Michael's and my parents, Eve, Jim, Carol, and Gottfried, and our siblings, my sister's here tonight, Denise, gave me and give us a foundation rooted in the vibrant pasts and elders of each of our families. And we have created a foundation of connection and balance in our home. Yesod, foundation, one of the sfirot, the elements in the Kabbalistic tree of life, a balancing power and the power of connection. I want to emphasize balance and deep connection because Michael and I truly share the parenting, the cooking, the housework, and a commitment to our work in the world. Razi, Lev, and Gabriel, the sensitivity and honesty in you is deeply human, and you stand on this yesod, this deep and strong foundation. This yesod, this family for which I am so grateful, this place of foundation, balance and connection, has allowed me to build and to be creative and to strive for excellence in my work with Hebrew Senior Life. The gift of the unearned right to serve. I'm so grateful to have been working alongside our chaplaincy team, who set the bar for compassion and for commitment. I'm blessed to have had stellar colleagues in building our chaplaincy program and many generous supporters of our work, to partner with our palliative care team, and most recently, the hospice and the whole hospice team. I cherish my colleagues, mentors, and the many skilled leaders at Hebrew Senior Life. Our elders have been an inspiration, and it's a blessing to be able to serve, both in times of trouble, tsuris, and in times of rejoicing, simcha. I am just so thankful to you, to Alan, to Jan, to Marilyn, to Ellen, to the wonderful staff and the good work of Synagogue Council that cultivates the pluralism and strength of the Boston area Jewish community, and for this honor tonight. Oksana and Jeff in advance for the song you will offer. My committee members, my co-chairs, Len, I entered this work because I was inspired by your leadership. So I thank you for helping me to reach this day. And Smadar, you are a true friend. Thank you. And to all of you who have gathered here tonight, I share with you words that we chaplains are blessed with every day. I am just so glad you are here with me.
בראת, אתה יצרת, אתה נפחת בי. זה אתה נשמרה בקרבי.
I think I'm Marty Zapp, but from Alan's description, I'm not sure. I'm Marty Zapp. I'm the president of the Synagogue Council. I'm pleased to join the previous speakers welcoming you all here this evening to honor our outstanding honorees, Rabbi Sarah, Glenn, and Ben. What you've done and what you continue to do for our community is beyond measure, and we're all the beneficiaries of your efforts. I want to express our gratitude to Temple Aliyah for hosting us this evening, to Rabbi Perkins, Cantor Bartolome, President Bruce Burns, and Temple Administrator Sharon Solomon for their assistance in planning this event. I also want to thank the annual Tribute Committee co-chairs, and of course our amazing Synagogue Council staff, who Alan already mentioned by name, who worked so hard on this event. I'm going to pass on reviewing our many community and synagogue-based activities and programs over the past year. You can read about them in your program books. In addition, though, this has been an incredibly busy behind-the-scenes year at Synagogue Council. Those of you who were with us at last year's tribute celebration may remember that we announced that we had engaged the SOAR 55 consulting group to assist us in a top-to-bottom review of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Now, Sharon Levinson, our immediate past president, also just happens to be the manager of the SOAR 55 nonprofit management consulting programs. So I want to thank Sharon for introducing us to SOAR and making the SOAR relationship possible. Our SOAR consulting team worked closely with us over a period of many, many months. Their background investigation and their fact-finding was exhaustive. Their analyses deep and incisive. The time they put in is incalculable, and I can't overstate how much we are indebted to them. Our collaboration with the SOAR consultants was particularly important in view of Alan's pending retirement. Now, the model for successful leadership transition is found where else but in Tanakh. That would be from Moses to Joshua. Now, here's how it worked. Moses, who of course had prophetic power, asks God to appoint his successor. God instructs Moses to select Joshua, and Joshua's success, because of his divine selection, is pretty much assured. Well, Alan, you have many outstanding leadership qualities. I'm
Unfortunately, prophetic power is not among them. So we worked with a SOAR group to develop what we know will be a successful leadership transition plan. And we've begun to prepare for the search for Alan's successor. But just as important, based on the SOAR team's exhaustive report and recommendations, our officers and directors have developed a roadmap to guide Synagogue Council's future. Many of the plan changes involve internal structure and processes that won't be outwardly visible, but they will position us to be prepared for the next generation and to continue to be what you will see: a vibrant, dynamic organization intensely dedicated to the ideal of a pluralistic community and to the congregations that are the backbone of that community. Just one more thing. On the last printed page of your program books, you'll see that next year's event is listed not as the annual tribute celebration, but as the annual tribute celebration in concert. This is going to be a very special event. There will be just one honoree, and that's Alan. It will be Alan's retirement party, going away party, at which we will honor him for more than 3 decades of service, both to Synagogue Council and to the Jewish community. It will be a festive occasion, and as a reflection of Alan's love of Jewish music, will feature performances by Safam and other marquee names that will be announced. It's not too early to mark your calendars. This is an event that you won't want to miss. It's now my pleasure to invite to the Bima Rabbi Sonia Salzman, the Rabbi of Temple Rabbi Shalom, to present the Community Service Award for Indians.
I'm wondering whether you'd like yet another take on Parsha Shelach. I'm ready to offer it. On a more serious note, I am truly thrilled to be here at Temple Aliyah, a congregation dear to my heart, because this is where I did my student pulpit, under the sweet and gentle guidance of congregants like Myrna and Murray Davidson. I can imagine how proud they must be this evening. Myrna and Murray have cultivated in their 3 sons a deep commitment to the Jewish community, a commitment that to this day continues to bear fruit. Fruits, grapes, figs, and pomegranates. See? Thank you. So that's what we find in this week's Parsha. I won't tell you the name, you know it by now. So these fruits should have been evidence enough of the goodness of the land of Canaan, but instead all the leaders except for Joshua and Caleb, discouraged the Israelites from moving forward. So, like others, I couldn't have asked for a more perfect Parsha to frame my remarks about Len. As a prominent trial lawyer, Len knows well the importance of evidence. But as a very successful leader, he knows that beyond evidence, what we need to move forward is courage and faith, both in ourselves and our mission. The tribal leaders had neither, and as you heard from Alan, they tell the Israelites that they saw giants roaming the land and that they looked like grasshoppers to themselves. I cannot imagine Len thinking of himself as a grasshopper. I would much more readily compare Len to the giants roaming the land, not because of how tall he stands, but because of what he has accomplished over the years. In our own community, Len was a much beloved and admired president during his 3-year tenure, ushering in a new preschool and marking and making our historic building more accessible. And since stepping down in 2008, he continues to be intimately involved, offering support to both his presidential successors and to me. And for this, I am truly grateful. And somehow, despite his leadership role at Ohave Shalom and his busy legal practice, Len has made time to serve on various other boards, including the ADL and currently the board of the North American Union of Reform Judaism. He could have said Dayenu, but that's not who Len is. Instead, he extends himself in all sorts of ways, providing, for example, pro bono legal assistance to the Synagogue Council, including helping keep the Vilna Shul standing. But it seems to me that in his work with the Jewish community, what brings Len the most satisfaction is being in front of the classroom. He has spent over 30 years teaching religious school, helping kids understand the relevance of our sacred texts in their everyday lives and making these texts come alive for them. His gift for teaching extends to adults as well. I remember one particular Devar Torah on Parsha Metzorah, which left me and others in awe of the wisdom he found in this challenging Parsha. And so I conclude my remarks with words from Kohelet, a book that Len loves sharing with his students. The verse says, "There is a time for every season, a time to sow and a time to reap." Len, we are grateful for the many seeds that you have sown, and we pray that you will be blessed in the years to come to reap the fruits of this labor of love together with your beloved family. Just as your parents set an example, you and Lori have set an example for Michelle and for Ashley, an example of what it means to stand tall before the challenges that face us, to see the possibilities, and to move forward with hope and with courage in our hearts. So I'd like to ask you to join me in the podium so that I can give to you a beautiful piece of art on behalf of the Synagogue Council.
Rabbi Sonia, I'll let you hug my daughter, that's okay. Rabbi Sonia, your kind words mean so much to me as my rabbi and my friend. Thank you for saying such generous things on my behalf. It is particularly comfortable for me to be here at Temple Aliyah, where I grew up. Rabbi Perkins and Cantor G, it is beshert, it is destined that I am here with you in my other home shul. And speaking of cantors, I know that Cantor Randy Schloss and his wife Leah have a musical treat to follow me, accompanied by our good friend David, wherever David is. Thank you for raising your beautiful voices in song for us this evening. I am so delighted to be honored and have been selected to be honored tonight. It has been a privilege and a great pleasure to have worked for so many years with Alan Tepero, who has served our community with such distinction. Alan may you continue to go from strength to strength. And to all the other friends of mine at the Synagogue Council, to Jan, to Arnie, to Ellen, I appreciate all your efforts as well in making tonight so special for me, my family, and my friends. I am truly proud to be honored tonight, along with Ben and Rabbi Sarah, two dynamic and terrific young leaders. Mazel tov to you both. What a privilege it is to share this evening with you. To my brother Paul, my law partner Steve Bookbinder, and my good friend Mike Weintraub, a special thank you for your offering to serve as co-chairs for tonight's event. How gracious of you to do this. Thank you for your generosity of time and energy. How fortunate I am to have the support and friendship of so many of you here tonight. From my friends and colleagues at Schlesinger and Bookbinder, and especially my trusty secretary, Ellen, to friends from all other paths of my life, including in particular my many friends from Temple Ohavei Shalom, as well as my family and friends who've come from near and far to celebrate with me. Thank you all for being here, for your kind words and generosity, and for sharing the joy of this evening with me. I'm especially lucky to have such a fine family by marriage, including my father-in-law Bill, who is here this evening, as well as my brother-in-law Bob, who will be married this weekend to Sobeli, a delightful new member of our family, and my brother-in-law Rich, and my nephew Paul, who flew in from Mexico to be here with me this evening. I stand here tonight because I have had superb role models to follow, and the support of a family behind me. I speak first of my parents, Myrna and Murray Davidson, who continue to serve as examples of what it really means to be a Mensch. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you for your love, your devotion, and your examples. I'm blessed to have both of my brothers here. My brother Paul, my brother Gary, as well as Paul's wife Susan, and my niece Rachel. Gary flew in yesterday from Germany to be here this evening. Gary is a rabbi, a chaplain in the Air Force, and he is here with us tonight. I'm so very grateful to have you here. And finally, I express my appreciation and love for my wife, Laurie, and my daughters. I hate when I do this. It's a gift I got from my father, who does this too. My daughters, Michelle and Ashley, who stand by me and with me in all that I do. Thank you. I love you. My daughter Michelle could not be here tonight as she has just started a new job working for Teach for America in St. Louis, doing exemplary work. And it's a Wednesday, so we are sharing it, even if not physically together, in spirit. So guess what this week's Torah portion is? Now, I was feverishly writing a second draft speech as I was listening to the other speakers. Fortunately, the first one will still work. The Torah portion of Shlach recounts the sending of spies to visit the land of Canaan to scout it out. 10 of the 12 spies bring back a negative report, noting that it is a land of milk and honey, yet fearing that it would be too difficult to enter and conquer the land. The other 2 spies, Joshua and Caleb, see the same situation, but have confidence in the ability of the people to do what is necessary to succeed there. All 12 see the same landscape, but the difference in viewpoints on what they envision is dramatic. I have always found the metaphors of this story to be powerful and inspirational ones. As a lawyer, I am accustomed to the concept that so much of life is about perspective. I recognize that while we may not have the ability to alter the facts, although I've seen witnesses try, we certainly can control how we deal with the facts, becoming catalysts of change in the process, as well as advocates for our causes. And it is frequently the minority who are willing to lead, just as Joshua and Caleb stood against the majority. The other 10 spies wanted to avoid what was quite likely to be a difficult situation, and perhaps even a daunting task. It is always easier to shy away from taking on a new challenge, to avoid potential problems, and to allow the laws of inertia to control our lives by not changing the status quo. But we are gathered here tonight to recognize that there is great joy and justifiable pride to being instruments of positive change in our efforts to make the world better. Caleb and Joshua were not unrealistic optimists. They looked at the situation honestly and yet appreciated and believed that they could make a positive difference if they took action. They did not listen to the naysayers, nor were they dissuaded by those who were afraid of challenges. So I am indeed honored and gratified that tonight the Synagogue Council is recognizing those who have gotten involved, despite the challenges, in ways that improve our communities. With clear sight, we understand that the landscape may appear the same. But tonight we pay homage to those who recognize that where there are gaps, we can imagine and build the bridges. We realize that in our communities, there may be differences, but we can focus on and be strengthened by the similarities. We understand that though we may face challenges, we can find and create opportunities. Like Joshua and Caleb, we see in the process of envisioning a better future and taking steps to make it happen, a way to reach our own lands of milk and honey. And so I thank you all for making tonight so very sweet.
I'm Cantor Randall Schloss. This is my wife, Aliyah, and we're also joined by David Spar at the piano. And it is indeed an honor and a pleasure to do all sorts of my favorite things all at the same time, to be making beautiful music, to be joined by my wife and by David in doing so in such a wonderful community assembled by the Synagogue Council, and also in the presence of our wonderful honorees, and in particular, my good friend, Len Davidson. I'm also particularly grateful that, being a cantor, I don't have to give a Devar Torah and Shalach Bracha. What we'd like to sing tonight is Mi Ha'ish, and this rhetorical question posed by Psalm 34, who is the man who desires life and all his days to see the good? And then I'll just say parenthetically, maybe like Joshua and Caleb. It's a rhetorical question, but I'm really excited and happy to say that we actually get to answer that rhetorical question tonight in somebody like Len Davidson.
Thank you.
course, traditional being here in shul that we should close by singing Adon Olam. So I would like to invite all of our musicians who helped honor these wonderful people back up to the bima so we can sing for you and play for you. And I brought some of my extra favorite musicians along as well. Cantor Sheila Klein and Lisa Geller and Andy O'Connell and Steve Roush and Tom Rubinoff and Naomi Gertlind. There are lots of us. So please join. You may or may not know we need some extra microphones. We might be okay. You'll recognize this tune, but in case you don't have all the words memorized, we've added a little nigun as well, so you'll join us in singing of that. Okay. That's good, that's about our tempo.
was fantastic. I am not going to try to outdo that. But I just want, my name is Josh Fialkoff. I'm one of the co-chairs tonight. And I want to thank all of the chairs here and just direct everyone that now is time for dessert. So make your way out here. And thank you again for coming and for supporting the Synagogue Council. Thank you very much.